The Saskatchewan Court of Appeals has overturned the Human Rights Tribunal that found Bill Whatcott guilty of exposing queer people to hatred.
And they've appealed this to the Supreme Court of Canada.
Okay, you know, there's some sodomites rebelling against Almighty God, so I'm here to tell them the truth.
Bill's one of those kind of guys that you either love him or hate him.
I'm banned from the United States.
That's a promotional trailer for a new documentary film about Bill Whatcott. And instead of me telling you who he is, let's ask the man himself. He joins us now live from our Calgary studio. Thank you, Mr. Whatcott, for coming into Calgary today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you hang your hat in Saskatchewan normally, and 10 years ago, you created quite a fuss by handing out flyers. Can you tell our viewers what those flyers said, why you handed them out, and who you gave them to?
Well, I gave out literally hundreds of thousands of flyers, and in quite a number of cities in Saskatchewan and Alberta and British Columbia, actually. They were flyers dealing with different aspects of homosexuality. I deliberately made them blunt and straightforward. I don't think I was uncharitable or dishonest. I've never been sued for slander. But they were certainly straightforward, and they used biblical language, and they were not politically correct, but they were factually correct. And for this, I was taken to the Human Rights Commission. All right. Well, answer me this: where did you hand these out? Just on the street, or schools, or churches? Who did you give out so many flyers to? Oh, I love handing them out at universities in particular. I put one in former Premier Romano's hand, and then had a bunch of security chasing me shortly afterwards. University of Regina, University of Calgary, University of Edmonton, and then thousands upon thousands of residential mailboxes. Now, why do you do this? I do perceive the media, especially prior to the advent of Sun Media, as being highly biased on the issue of homosexuality. I've sat for 4 years in post-secondary, and some of the teachers are not even credible on that issue. They're just so pro-homosexual, they're not interested in giving the downside or even allowing the downside to be discussed. And as a Christian, I saw that as an important issue. I see it as an issue that's a threat to religious liberties, freedom of speech, parental authority. It's a public health issue. All right, so I get your point. So you're anti-gay and you hand out flyers. Have you ever been arrested for any physical violence? Have you ever done anything, done any property damage? Have you ever gotten physical with anyone, or are you just basically a self-styled postman? Probably a self-styled postman would be accurate, although I don't do it for pay. Right, of course not. So I just want to confirm you've never been charged with assault or anything like that. Never have been. I've had assaults done on me. Right. All right. Well, listen, I've got the facts, and now I want to get to what's interesting here, because I believe in free speech, and I believe in Canada you should be able to have whatever political opinion you want, as long as you're not violent or threatening violence or doing any actual real crimes. Now, you handed out these flyers 2001, 2002, and then you said you were hit with a hate speech charge by the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission. I know a little bit about that. Now, that was 10 years ago. Tell me what happened. We don't have a lot of time, so maybe give me the Coles Notes version. What happened at your trial, and did you appeal this thing? Okay, it was 4 different flyers, one dealing with the promotion of homosexuality in schools that I handed out in Saskatoon. 2 of the flyers were literally verbatim photocopies, unedited, of ads of men seeking boys, age not so relevant. All right, so you were prosecuted for these things, and you were convicted, I take it. $17,000. $17,500 fine, and an order to pay to never criticize. To pay to 4 different homosexuals that were offended by my flyers, and I also had an order to not say what I was saying anymore. Now, by not say it, do you mean not verbally say it, or not hand out any flyers, or? I believe it was a pretty comprehensive speech ban. It's been a couple of years since I looked at the judgment, but I don't think I was allowed to publicly criticize homosexuality in any way, shape, or form. Now, obviously, you appealed this, and what happened upon appeal? Court of Queen's Bench upheld the conviction. Saskatchewan Court of Appeal strongly overturned it and said that my right to free speech was infringed. And now the Human Rights Commission was not happy with that and appealed it to to the Supreme Court of Canada.
So the lower court said, yeah, Whatcott should be censored and the fine should stand, but then the highest court of Saskatchewan said, no, free speech should triumph. You're headed to, you have a court date in October, did I see that right? In October, the Supreme Court of Canada will be hearing the final appeal on this matter, is that correct?
Yes, on October 12th, and I'll be there putting out flyers.
Do you have a lawyer? I think you do. I think is your lawyer still with you in this case? I take it you're not defending yourself.
No, actually, I have an extremely competent and committed lawyer by the name of Tom Shuck from Weyburn, and also John Carpy is assisting with the case, and another lawyer friend of mine, Daniel Mole, is going to be going out there as well. Are
there any other lawyers from the Civil Liberties Commission or any other free speech activists who are intervening on your behalf? How about the Canadian Civil Liberties Association?
Yes, they've intervened on my behalf. The Constitution Foundation intervened on my behalf. The Catholic Civil Liberties Association and the Evangelical Fellowship of Canada are there.
And how about on the other side? Who's against you besides the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission?
Oh, an entire array of human rights commissions, right from the Northwest Territories to a number of different provinces. And then a number of liberal churches have intervened, and surprisingly, the First Nations, I don't know what they have to do with my case, but they feel that they need to keep the victimization element of the Human Rights Commission going. And also the African Legal Clinic intervened, who I've never heard of until then.
It sounds like there's going to be
and
a
also
whole...
gay, homosexual groups as well, of course, EGALI.
EGAL's intervening against you. I thought that they were a free speech gay rights group. Am I wrong?
They don't want to lose the censorship provision of the Human Rights Commission, and quite understandably, they're not a fan of my flyers.
Well, I can understand not being a fan of your flyers. I get the feeling I wouldn't agree with everything in your flyers either, but that doesn't mean I want to ban you. Are you saying that EGAL, the gay rights lobby group, is on the other side from you? Because that's a change. I recall a couple years ago that they, although they criticize anti-gay activists, they do not want their censorship. Are you reporting to me that EGAL is now for censorship of anti-gay activists?
Yes, I believe they are. I think I can say that. I've read all the factums. It's hard for me to memorize them sitting in front of you, but I believe that they came out against me, yes.
Last question for you, because we're running out of time. I've been following your case and other free speech cases. Heck, I myself went through one. I'm of the opinion that politicians lack courage on this, but our Supreme Court is actually becoming a more libertarian court on matters of free speech. And I am an optimist on the Supreme Court. What do you think? I mean, I know that the hearing hasn't been held, but if you had to guess, if you had to make a prediction, do you think your free speech will be upheld, or do you think you'll be censored again?
I've given that question a lot of thought, and I don't know. We do have some Paul Martin appointees that I have serious concerns about. Others like McLachlan haven't historically held up free speech, even though politically she's much more liberal than myself. I don't know. It's a very hard one for myself to read. I hope more so for Canadians than for myself. I do hope they uphold this, and actually I hope they actually strike down the law.
All right, Bill Whatcott, we're out of time. I appreciate you joining us. We'll be watching this case when it goes to the Supreme Court next month, and I hope we'll talk to you again when we know the ruling. Thanks for joining us today from Calgary.